We're talking about something that people are calling high-functioning depression. It's not a diagnosis, it's not a recognized clinical disorder, but many people say that they can relate to the signs as described in this video that was posted on TikTok.
You wear the mask. You take care of important things, work, school, bills. On the outside, everything seems normal, but on the inside, you're feeling empty and numb.
Joining us now, licensed clinical social worker Kelly Kitley. Kelly, nice to see you. So this idea of high-functioning depression, it seems to be the opposite of what we maybe think depression looks like. How would you describe how they're different, or is it really just the same thing in how people are behaving?
Oh, Kate, thank you so much for covering this. You're one of my favorite mental health advocates. And I think that it's important for people to recognize that there is a stereotype of what depression looks like. Somebody can't get out, major depressive disorder. Somebody can't get out of bed. They're losing or gaining weight. They're socially withdrawing. They can't hold a job. But really, depression is along a spectrum. And so there are people who are high functioning, who maybe are at the height of their career or are in strong social circles. And there can oftentimes be self-criticism and this feeling of I'm not good enough and constantly comparing or feeling like I'm never going to do enough to soothe some of this internal negative thinking.
So it can be so difficult to spot depression, right? I think about former Miss USA, Cheslie Kryst. She died by suicide in 2022. Her mom released a statement saying, quote, she was dealing with high-functioning depression. That's what her mom said, which she hid from everyone, including me, her closest confidant. So I guess my big question, Kelly, is how do you help someone if you don't realize that they're struggling? What can we look for to key in?
Sure. So this was a very classic example. I just read the book they co-authored by the time you read this. And, we need to get better at asking people, how are you really doing? And actually listening, because oftentimes people have so many plates spinning in the air and what people look like on the outside may not match how they're feeling inside. And we need to get better at being vulnerable and telling on ourselves if we are having persistent negative thoughts or self-criticism. Sometimes this productivity is just a coping mechanism to not feel and to not slow down and take time. It's if I can just get through these checklists, I can make sure that everybody thinks that I'm doing okay and maybe even validate myself. But the difficulty in that is that sometimes those people aren't asking for help because there can be some shame attached to that. On the outside, it looks like my life is perfect. What do I have to be depressed about? What will other people think of me?
Yeah, I so relate to this. In my family, sometimes, Kelly, will say to each other, brutal honesty, right? How are you feeling? Brutally honest. Everybody has their own language, but you do have to check in. Just finally, can you remind us, what is the difference between occasional sadness and clinical depression? Like, what's the difference, and how do you figure out if that's where you might be?
We have to do self-check-ins. And if we recognize that, there may be situational occurrences in our life where we are feeling low mood, like a job loss or a loss of a family member. But if we have persistent and consistent feelings of low mood or wanting to hurt ourselves, then we really want to make sure that we reach out to a professional and get a referral. If those symptoms last for 2 weeks or longer, then it is important to be on top of it before symptoms get worse.
Kelly Kitley, thank you so much. I want to quickly put up 988 if you need